94th all-time meeting between the Jets and the Miami Dolphins. Iron Eagle Dan Fouts and the rest of our CBS crew here at MetLife Stadium, East Rutherford, New Jersey. The weather, 58 degrees. It's actually very comfortable right now, but the wind expected to pick up throughout the afternoon between 15 and 20 miles per hour. Rain possible. Of course, the Hurricane Sandy tomorrow is really going to hit the area. AFC East standings, New England at 4-3. Miami a half game back. The Jets are 3-4. In fact, 9 teams in the AFC are either 3-3 or 3-4. It is very tight within the division right now. This is the second meeting of the season between these two teams. So Joe Philbin, a chance during that bye week to self-scout, to get a jump on the Jets prep. He felt the bye week was constructive. Wednesday, Thursday, they actually had some wind and rain down in South Florida, so they felt that that was real life conditions to deal with over the weekend. Rex Ryan knows just how pivotal this game is. The Jets, a crushing 29-26 loss in overtime to New England last week. Mark Sanchez, a fumble to end the game in OT. Jets won the toss. They have deferred to the second half. Nick Folk will kick it off to Marcus Thigpen for Miami. We're underway. AFC East rivalry. The Dolphins and the Jets. Thigpen's going to take it out from the goal line. Slowed down as he hit the 20 and then brought down at the 22-yard line by Josh Bush on special teams. Starting quarterback for the Miami Dolphins, talented rookie out of Texas A&M, Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, he knows the Jets will test him today as much mentally as physically. He has to be able to focus on and identify the various fronts the Jets will use. And as his head coach Joe Philbin says, his decision-making is critical for a Dolphin victory.
His chemistry with these receivers have been developing nicely. They're building a trust. They're at the point where they can anticipate things and can just strike quickly, which we've seen Tannehill do the last couple of weeks. On a handoff, Reggie Bush, nowhere to go and no gain on the play. LaRon Landry in on that stop. That is a subplot in this game with Landry and Bush. Starting lineups for Miami. Jake Long, perennial Pro Bowler on that offensive line, the backs and receivers. Bush really has not been the same since the last Jets game and that injured knee. Exploded in week 2 against Oakland. Pass, low throw, it's handled by Bush, trying to weave his way along the sideline, and he's brought down after the 6.5-yard gain by Jeremiah Bell, the former Dolphin. Defensive line, you'll see mixing and matching. Sione Boua is active today. That's big up the middle for the Jets. Linebacking core, Demario Davis in for Bart Scott. Scott's 119 consecutive game streak is over with turf toe. And in that secondary, Landry and Bell, so key in this matchup at the safety spot. Miami continues to run no huddle. They've done it as often as anybody in the NFL this year, along with Baltimore and New England. 4 receiver set. And a pink flag comes down. Our first penalty of the day. Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We've seen pink throughout the NFL in the month of October.
Offside, number 96, defense. 5-yard penalty, first down.
Wilkerson, the guilty party.
Yeah, he jumped, and the Dolphin offensive lineman in front of him reacted to the jump. And that's what the conversation was with the officials, and they got it right.
Our referee, Walt Anderson, it gives Miami a first down. Dolphins had a 17-14 win over St. Louis in week 6. 3-3, 2-game winning streak. Tannehill, short throw, didn't have enough on it. Tried to swing it to Thomas, incomplete. Thomas has dealt with 2 concussions this year and back active for Miami here today. It'll be 2nd and 10.
And Tannehill's thrown 2 passes, both short passes, and both thrown short. Bush made a nice catch on the first one. That time Thomas couldn't handle that one.
Among the words going back and forth this week stems from the previous matchup when Rex Ryan said they wanted to put a little hot sauce on Reggie Bush. It is Bush. Finds a hole. Bush to the second level. And forced out of bounds as he got it into Jets territory, and some words exchanged at the end of that play, and a flag comes down. Cromartie, who had some select words late in the week after Bush said it was karma when Darrelle Revis went down with a season-ending injury in the last meeting between these two teams.
And at the end of the play, you saw Bush really punch out with a straight arm. And obviously that upset the Jets on the sidelines. But good hole up the middle,
After
19
the play,
yards on the game.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 31, defense. 15-yard penalty, first down.
It is Cromartie, and Cromartie heads to the Jets sideline, being checked out there.
Yeah, really good block here in the middle by Pouncey. Watch as he takes out the linebacker Harris. Good cut by Bush. And check out the end of the play. Watch the punch right there by Bush. Cromartie did not like it, and always the second guy in that will get the penalty as you see him retaliate. It's a good legal straight arm by Bush. Cromartie didn't like it.
Now look where Miami has the football after the penalty. Training staff is over there with Cromartie. That means Ellis Lankster is in for him. 1st and 10 in Jets territory at the 33. Thomas and Lane in the backfield. Tannehill pats the ball, throws. The curl by Hartline and a first down. So they go into attack mode. No Revis, no Cromartie, and a 12-yard hookup throwing at Lankster.
Yeah, you know that you come into the game cold like this, as Lankster has done. That smart play by Mike Sherman, offensive coordinator, calling that one out to Tannehill, and he delivered a perfect pass.
Lankster had trouble dealing with Devon Bess in the first meeting, and they victimized him on a couple of occasions back in week 3. This is the 6th play of the drive. Miami on the move, 1st and 10 at the 21. Jabbar Gaffney seeing his first action as a Miami Dolphin.
28! Go, go!
On a give. Bush. Stutter step. And squeezes out 5 yards. Good effort by Bush and a key block by Verona, New Jersey native Anthony Fasano, the tight end.
Now Bush averaged 6 yards a carry in their first game until he got hurt right at the end of the first half. So off to a good start today. You see the patience. He looks 100% healthy. That knee doesn't seem to be bothering him at all, as you can see how well he is cutting back against the grain.
Looks like they're checking out the left hand of Antonio Cromartie. 2nd and 5. Bush. Try to spin move, runs into a wall. Calvin Pace leading that charge. A 1-yard gain for Bush brings up 3rd down. And the chatter continues between the Dolphins and Jets.
Last time the Dolphins had a 3rd down, Wilkerson jumped off sides, gave the Dolphins an automatic first down. And the penalty on Cromartie after the 19-yard run.
8th play of the drive. Nickel package. Isaiah Trufant is in. 5'8", 170-pound corner. Empty backfield, working out of the gun. Tannehill. Dolphins trying to get on the board. Tannehill lets it fly. Incomplete. Hartline thought that Lankster made contact with him.
Well, yeah, he's looking for an illegal contact down the field. Not really going to get it on the fade route. Hartline kind of gave up on this route as the ball was overthrown, but real good tight coverage by Lankster.
Ball was deemed uncatchable. So the field goal unit is on. Dan Carpenter, who missed a 48-yard field goal in overtime against the Jets in the first meeting that would have won it for Miami. Now kicking a 33-yarder. Swirling winds inside this stadium today. Carpenter curls it through to give Miami a 3-0 lead. 11:02 mark of this first quarter. Dolphins strike first on a long drive to open it up. Jets on offense when we come back. Emotional moment here before the game. Former Jet Dennis Byrd announced as the 12th man. Fans react. His number 90 will be retired at halftime, and then he addressed the team before they made their way to the sideline. And Miami, an onside kick, trying to catch the Nets napping. And they do.
I'm not so sure, Ian. I think the Jets are in the bottom of this pile. No, the Dolphins reacting. You're absolutely right. The eagle eye one more time.
Dan Carpenter, the onside kick after the field goal. Jason Trusnick, the former Jet, over there for the recovery.
And Carpenter almost hit it too well. Trusnick right at the bottom there. You can see number 93. He's going into block and finds out that the ball is right underneath him. He reaches out and pulls it back to his body. Great call by Darren Rizzi, special teams coach. and Joe Philbin, head coach.
So the Dolphins have it a 1st and 10 at the 49. Cromartie is in there for the Jets after the injury he suffered on the first Miami series. Tannehill tried to squeeze it into a tight window, could not connect with Charles Clay. Backup tight end, versatile H-back, incomplete.
They're expecting more things out of Charles Clay. He's a versatile player, but they need more production out of him. You can see right away, first play in the game, they went right to him.
This has been a tight series in recent years. 15 of the last 21 meetings between the Dolphins and Jets decided by single digits. Daniel Thomas, bruising presence, physical second-year running back out of Kansas State behind that left side of the line, long and incognito. It's a 5-yard gain. And Mark Sanchez still has not taken the field for the Jets. We're at the 10:35 mark of the first. Second Miami possession.
And, of course, always right in the wings is Tim Tebow.
How big a role will Tim Tebow have? He did have an impact the last time these two teams played, at least as far as offensive snaps. Sperano got him more involved. The former head coach of the Miami Dolphins, now the offensive coordinator for the Jets. 3rd and 5. Big play here on both ends. Tannehill, look out! He's sacked! Untouched. Calvin Pace, the veteran. And Tannehill is limping.
Second sack of the year for Calvin Pace, and Tannehill is limping off the field. That means Matt Moore may be coming in next time the Dolphins have the ball. But watch Pace, totally unblocked. He gets right to the quarterback as the Jets, with a real good blitz, they brought David Harris to occupy the tackle, Jonathan Martin, and Pace had a free run at the quarterback.
Loss of 9 on the play, and Brandon Fields, who comes in averaging 51 yards per punt. Denny the snapper, Curley the deep man. What a punt by Fields, but it curled into the end zone. Marlon Moore had an opportunity, lost his footing as he turned around and could not make the play. It's a touchback. Now the concern is for Ryan Tannehill, trying to walk it off along that Miami sideline. They are working on the left leg of Ryan Tannehill after the Calvin Pace sack. Jets have the ball for the first time, 1st and 10 at their own 20-yard line. Motion man Lex Hilliard, the former Miami Dolphin. On a handoff, Sean Green runs into a brick wall. Chris Clemens read it perfectly, and a loss on the play. Mark Sanchez, week 3, he threw for 306 yards in the victory over Miami.
And he felt that because the Jets threw the ball so much last week against the Patriots, the receivers have more confidence in him and the passing game, especially in light of the season-ending injury to Santonio Holmes.
In his 4th year now, 3 and 4 in his career against the Miami Dolphins. Chaz Schillen's on as a 3rd receiver. Green will shift now as Sanchez works out of the gun, 2nd and long. To the outside, Schillens pushed backwards. Forward progress will give him a gain of 5 on the pass play. Miami Dolphins, they come in 28th overall in team defense, but 8th in scoring defense. And this Jets offense going against this Miami defense. Backs and receivers, Curley, big week last week. Keller, certainly a difference maker for this Jets team. And Mark Sanchez has been a different quarterback with Dustin Keller in the lineup. 3rd and 6 now for New York. Jimmy Wilson on as the 5th defensive back for Miami. They handle the rush. Sanchez, out route, nobody home. Curley, the intended receiver. Jimmy Wilson drew the coverage. And the Jets with a very quiet 3 and out to open things up. This is the Miami defense that Mark Sanchez is looking at throughout the day. Cameron Wake, 6.5 sacks the last 3 games. Linebacking core, all 3 have been strong. And in the secondary, no Richard Marshall. He's out. Nolan Carroll steps in for him. Marshall out with a back injury. Robert Malone punting to Marcus Thigpen. Good punt. Thigpen backpedals to the 16. Thigpen runs into his own man and is brought down at the 31-yard line. 59-yard punt for Malone and a 14-yard return. And the backup quarterback, Matt Moore, stepping in for Tannehill when we return. Miami rookie quarterback Ryan Tannehill injured last series. Calvin Pace on 3rd down untouched for the sack. And
it
this is where Tannehill struggled.
Well, he comes off the field and he's going to point to his left quad just above the knee, and he's going to get stretched out there. He's been on the bicycle on the sidelines, but he remains on the sidelines as Matt Moore takes over.
Well, they are calling it a left quad injury. Return is questionable. Matt Moore last year was the starter for this Miami squad after Henny went down. Reggie Bush driving to the 35-yard line, a 4-yard pickup for Bush. And Mario Davis, the rookie out of Arkansas State, starting for the injured Bart Scott, makes the play. Moore, formerly with the Carolina Panthers, and Moore played well at times last year, sparked Miami's run at the end of last season. 3-0 lead for the Dolphins. Bush in there with a double tight end set. Bush. Nothing. Combination of Wilkerson and Harris to bring down Bush. No gain on the play.
That always amazes me. Here they bring in 3 tight ends to the right side, run behind them. And the Jets obviously knew that was coming because of the alignment. And Harris was right there for his second big play along with Wilkerson.
Miami has only 190 rushing yards in its last 3 games. Those numbers have gone down in each of the last 3 games. Under 7 minutes to go now in this first quarter. 3rd and 6, and it's Moore out of the gun. Moore pulls the trigger. Incomplete. Dolphins wanted a flag with Best matched up against Trufant. And Joe Philbin asking the official how there was no flag thrown.
Yeah, Philbin looking for an armbar, but here is the matchup on the outside, Best and Trufant. And Trufant knocks him down. The official grabs the flag, is going to throw it, then stuffs it back into his pants. Unbelievable.
How about that decision making?
Was it pass interference or not? You had the flag all the way out. You got to throw it.
Fields the punt, didn't get all of it, but good angle towards the sideline and unreturnable. Jeremy Curley ranging over and had to watch it bounce out of bounds. Jets will be pinned deep in their own territory after the 55-yard punt by Fields. 3-0 Miami leading the Jets. 6:28 mark of this first quarter. A little bit of a strange start here for these two teams. Onside kick was effective, but Miami didn't take advantage of it. Tannehill goes down with an injury. Slapped down as Hill was the intended receiver, matched up with Sean Smith. Much improved at that cornerback position. Smith has been a standout so far in that secondary. Tuesday on CBS, meet the new sheriff who's taming Vegas. Dennis Quaid stars in TV's #1 news show, Vegas, Tuesday, only CBS.
Sean Smith's a lot like Antonio Cromartie, both very tall with long arms, and you saw the quick reaction to swat that ball away without committing pass interference.
Lex Hilliard, former Dolphin, former Patriot, now shifting to the backfield on 2nd and 10 from the 10. To a running play. Green could not get ahead of steam. Randy Starks helped make sure of it. Give him a gain of 1.5 yards, maybe 2, depending on the spot.
In the first game, the Miami defense held the Jets to just under 3 yards a carry. They're one of the best teams against the run in the NFL, and they're especially tough on 3rd down, where they're #1 in the NFL, allowing just 25% conversions on 3rd down to their opponent.
Come in #4 against the run, giving up just under 80 yards per game. And now a 3rd and 8 for the Jets. Spread the field with 5. Curley the motion man. Play clock down to 1. They do get the snap off. Out of the gun, Sanchez pumps, throws in stride, and connects with Keller. His #1 target getting involved for a 13-yard hookup and a first down for New York.
You got to give the offensive line a lot of credit, too, because this took Sanchez about 5 seconds to find Keller. Looking out to the right, Keller gets bumped off the line of scrimmage and comes back across the middle. But that 13-yard gain, the offensive line should get a big pat on the back because there was no Dolphin near the quarterback.
For years, Keller used to go against Jeremiah Bell, who would line up against him. Now Bell's a teammate after signing as a free agent with the Jets. Back to the ground game. Green thrown down by Burnett, a 3-yard pickup. NFL Today update. We're heading to New York. JB, Shannon Sharp.
Patriots answered back to a Rams score.
And quick, JB, Tom Brady, Brandon Lloyd, they finally seem to be on the same page. 7-7 ball game across the pond.
All right, back, Iron Eagle, Dan Fouts.
All right, guys, thanks very much. Randy Starks just limped off for Miami, so Tony McDaniel, 7-year veteran, is in for him on that defensive line. 2nd and 7 now for the Jets. Green and Hilliard in the backfield. Keller sets up in the slot. Sanchez hit as he throws and floats it over the head of Curley. He took a shot from McDaniel.
Yeah, McDaniel got a clean shot at the quarterback. Number 78, again, unblocked as he gets inside of Austin Howard. Brandon Moore took the left path. Howard went out to the right, and that just opened it up for McDaniel and really punished Sanchez.
Do you feel like you see Mark Sanchez in that position a lot?
You know what? Last time we saw him in that position, he still had the ball in his hand until Ninkovich knocked it out and won the game for the Patriots.
3rd and 7 now. Rush coming, delayed. Sanchez is dumped. Safety blitz, Jimmy Wilson. Jets unable to block off Miami, and New York will punt.
And we're seeing some really creative blitzes. This time Kevin Coyle, defensive coordinator, is going to bring Wilson all the way. Here he comes, 27, not accounted for. Too late for the side adjustment and a big 8-yard loss. First career sack for Jimmy Wilson. And now he blocks the punt.
Block! And a touchdown! Vernon comes up with the ball and Wilson with the block. Miami getting it done on special teams. What a turn here.
Yeah, and the personal protector is Tim Tebow, and he does not see Jimmy Wilson coming. He goes to the left side. Wilson goes to the right side of the personal protector. Check out Tebow here. He's going to block here. Here's Wilson coming right in for a clean block on the punter. And heads up and a beautiful bounce to Olivier Vernon for an easy score.
So think about special teams. They had the onside kick. They converted that earlier, setting a tone, and then bringing the house on Malone. The block, the recovery for the touchdown, and Mike Westhoff, the 25-year NFL veteran coach, trying to coach up Tim Tebow. The Dolphins turn it into 7. It's 10-0. Let's take you back. December 8th, 1984. Jets, Buffalo. Stan David returned a block punt, 36 yards for a touchdown. Entering today, it had been 439 straight games since the Jets had a punt blocked return for a touchdown. That was the longest active streak in the NFL until today. Robert Malone blocked by Wilson. Vernon the recovery. And Miami with a 10-0 lead on the Jets.
And 3 dominant defensive plays. If you consider the block punt a defensive play, and you should, the hit by McDaniel on Sanchez that forced the incomplete pass. Then the 8-yard sack by Jimmy Wilson on 3rd down. The punt blocked by Wilson, returned by Vernon.
And now Carpenter is going to kick it off to Joe McKnight, who's dealing with a high ankle sprain himself. On a bounce for McKnight from the goal line. McKnight spilled out just short of the 25-yard line by Austin Spittler on special teams. Earlier today, here at the Meadowlands, Commissioner Roger Goodell out in the parking lot, meeting with fans, mingling, taking photos. And then on the field before the game, he visited with Dante Cano and his family. Dante is the 11-year-old from New Jersey who wrote a letter suggesting the officials use pink penalty flags in recognition of the NFL's efforts to support breast cancer awareness. That suggestion was incorporated into today's game. Dante, first of all, excellent penmanship. Let's just say that. That's better than your writing right now.
An excellent idea, well executed, and hey, good seats too.
And Dante's a doer. He had an idea. He goes out, he contacts the commissioner, and look what happens.
Yeah, look what happened to Joe McKnight on that kick return. Slow to get up, limping off on that bad ankle. Tough guy, but he's defied the odds the last couple of weeks playing on that bad ankle. He may be done for the day.
Jets are already down a running back. Bilal Powell is out. with a separated shoulder. They have an extra offensive lineman right now with Jason Smith. It's Green on a stutter step. They are getting no push on that offensive line right now. 2.5-yard gain for Green. Second down coming up for the Jets.
Well, the Dolphins are big up front. Now Tim Tebow comes into the game for the first time on offense.
So the Jets looking for something here.
They need a spark.
Tebow setting up just off the line. Tebow could see some time at halfback as well, depending upon how these circumstances shift throughout the day. 2nd and 7. Sanchez looks underneath to Keller. Dragged down from behind just across the 30-yard line. Kevin Burnett making the play defensively for Miami, and a 4-yard pickup for the Jets.
Brings up another third down for New York. And so far today, just 1 out of 3.
So Tebow will stay in there. Tony Sparano, the former head coach of the Miami Dolphins, running the offense here for the Jets. Some criticism this week that he has not been very creative in using Tim Tebow. Shotgun formation on a 3rd and 3. Connection made. Great effort by Curley to spin his way for a first down. Jeremy Curley has turned into a legitimate weapon for this Jets offense. That's a 6-yard gain through the air.
And this is where he's most dangerous as a slot receiver against nickel coverage. He's in the mold of a Wes Welker type, very quick, decisive, and with great effort there to pick up the first down, because when he caught the ball, he was about a yard short of the marker to gain.
A year ago, it was Tebow mania around the NFL, and right now he's a bit player on this Jets offense. New set of downs for the Jets to work with. Delayed rush again. Sanchez! Ball knocked free! Nolan Carroll got a piece of it, and it's recovered by Miami. Paul Soliai.
Yeah, another blitz off the corner this time. Carroll gets to the quarterback. The ball is in the air after Sanchez gets hit, so when the ball is recovered, watch the corner blitz off the slot. He's got Curley in coverage. No, he doesn't. He's coming after the quarterback. Sanchez has to hold the ball. Now watch the ball go up in the air. It never hits the ground as Soliai has it, so there's no question as to whether it's a forward pass or a fumble. It's Dolphin ball regardless.
Matt Moore and the Miami Dolphins offense taking over at the 32-yard line. On a give to Thomas, 1 cut up the field, and he picks up 2 yards, hit by David Harris. The injury update on Tannehill, left quad and left knee. His return still listed as questionable. So Matt Moore is the man in charge right now for Miami. 6th year out of Oregon State, transferred from UCLA, played a little bit in Carolina, and then extended playing time last year here for Miami. Catch made by Bess, and the curl upfield for a first down. Devon Bess, so dependable, 11-yard gain. Bess able to fake out Kyle Wilson to get extra yardage for the Dolphins.
Yeah, he had 5 catches in their first meeting for 86 yards, but again, it's a slot receiver, not real big, but very quick, very reliable.
Dolphins trying to move over the 500 mark for the first time since week 14, 2010. Moore over the middle, caught by Hartline inside the 5, and the Dolphins are threatening.
Boy, that will give Matt Moore a lot of confidence, because he had to fire this one into the teeth of the Jet defense, and he threw a perfect pass to Hartline right in rhythm and down inside the 5.
First and goal for the Dolphins, and that'll go down as the final play of this first quarter. Miami with a 10-0 lead on the road against the New York Jets. We'll have second quarter action coming up when we return to New Jersey. After these messages, you're watching the NFL on CBS, home of Super Bowl 47. Tony Sparano huddling up with Mark Sanchez and Tim Tebow. Right now, it's the Jets defense that is under the spotlight. because Miami has an opportunity to add to its lead. It's 10-0 as we start play in the second quarter. Ian Eagle, Dan Fouts, rest of our CBS crew, producer Bob Monsbach, director Suzanne Smith. First and goal for Miami. Ryan Tannehill, quad and knee injury to his left leg. So Matt Moore is in there at quarterback for the Dolphins. On a handoff, Thomas gets hit. Bush helping out in run support to lower the boom on Thomas. A loss of 1 on the play.
Heck of a play by the rookie out of Wake Forest, coming up there and making sure that Thomas couldn't bounce off the initial contact. Now the Dolphins take out the big guys, bring in the little guys. Jets should be anticipating a pass as they bring in extra secondary men, including Cromartie.
Jabbar Gaffney checks in. He was signed October the 2nd. His dad, Derek, played wide receiver for the Jets for 8 years in the 70s and 80s. Second and goal for the Dolphins. Moore pumps, throws, back of the end zone. Fasano, incomplete. Didn't secure it before he fell out of bounds.
Great effort by Fasano. The ball thrown slightly behind him by Matt Moore. But Fasano got loose in the back of the end zone, and that left foot is out of bounds. Excellent call by the official, who was right on the spot. Got behind Landry, but that left foot is just slightly on the white. Incomplete pass. Great camera work as well.
He is right up against the white in the back of the end zone. Play clock could be an issue here.
It is. Moore saw it as well. Called timeout.
And the red flag is out.
Miami is challenging the ruling on the field of an incomplete pass.
So Joe Philbin is going to roll the dice and see if the officials see something different when they take a look at the replay. Clearly on that one, it looked like it was on the white.
Now here's a picture the officials upstairs are looking at, or the coaches rather, for the Dolphins. This is why they decided to challenge, but as we get a better look at Fasano's left foot, and I think he's got 2 toes just on the white.
So coach's challenge from Joe Philbin. These are the pictures that the officials have taken a look at. Call on the field was an incomplete pass. Walt Anderson ready to rule. Would bring up third and goal.
After reviewing the play, the ruling on the field stands. Incomplete pass. Miami is charged with its first timeout.
So a timeout charge to Miami. They lose the challenge. Philbin took the gamble, but now his offense faces a third and goal. Fasano in motion. Moore on a handoff. Struggling to get there. Thomas. He's in. Touchdown, Miami. Daniel Thomas stumbling in for the score. Dolphins an extra point away from 17-0.
And the Jets are anticipating a pass, so they're blitzing. You see Landry come off the corner. He misses a tackle. Thomas goes underneath the effort by Jeremiah Bell. Just a super job to get into the end zone. No question the ball was across before his knee touched.
So the lunge by Thomas quiets the crowd here. Dan Carpenter on for the extra point. 6 plays, 32 yards, and it came off the turnover.
Let's check out his knees. Pouncey may have been in the way for us to see that.
17-0. Dolphins off to a strong start here in the early stages of the second quarter. This set up the drive. The turnover by the Jets. And Miami cashes in with a score. Pumpkin Patch in Fairfield, New Jersey. Popular spot this weekend before the storm hits. The storm has hit the Jets 17-0 in favor of the Miami Dolphins. And Clyde Gates, the former Dolphin, is now in there to return. They won't even get to him. Out to the 30-yard line, and Conrad Rulin, a backup tight end, known as the garbage man, does all the nasty business. comes up with the return. Latest news, analysis, predictions from CBS sports experts. Watch Pro Football 360 live weekdays at 3 p.m. Eastern or on demand, cbssports.com/profootball360. It is an ankle injury for Joe McKnight. His return is questionable. We've seen debris make its way onto the field. A couple of balloons earlier on a handoff for Green and wrapped up. Couldn't fight through Spittler, third-year linebacker out of Ohio State. It's a 3-yard gain for Sean Green.
Now the Jets having all types of trouble running the ball. Now a Dolphin is down on the ground. Injured. Doesn't look like he's getting up either. Looked like Tony McDaniel. Remember, McDaniel came in for Randy Starks in the last series of plays.
So they're checking on Tony McDaniel. Will step aside with the Dolphins leading at 17-0 in the second. It's the right leg of Tony McDaniel, helped off the field now on the Miami sideline. Randy Starks is back for the Dolphins in a 2nd and 7 for the Jets. 13:28 to go in this first half. Fake the pass, give for Green, trying to cut it to the outside. Green zigzags his way, and he's angled out of bounds after picking up 5 yards on the run. Well, we packed a lot in here on the key plays. The onside kick, that was after a field goal. Carpenter executed it perfectly. Trusnick on the recovery. Then Malone blocked by Wilson. Vernon the recovery for the touchdown. The strip, Carroll got it. Soliai recovers, and Miami turned that into 7 points.
Miami looks so much fresher, especially after their bye. Looks like they put in a couple of creative blitzes as well.
On third down, a deep drop. Sanchez too high for Curley at 5'9". Sanchez dumped once again. Cameron Wake putting the heat on Sanchez, and the Jets 3 and out.
Now the Jets have run the ball 6 times for 15 yards, just over 2 yards per rush. Sanchez now 4 of 8 for 28 yards. And he's not getting a whole lot of time to throw either.
Elbow injury for Carlos Dansby. His return is questionable. Malone punting to Devon Bess. And Bess, fair catch at the 23-yard line. That's where Miami will set up shop. 12:42 to go. First half, it's been all Dolphins. Get coverage of every NFL game with NFL Mobile. Call ** NFL. That's 635 to download NFL Mobile, or go to NFL.com/mobile to learn more. Miami injuries piling up. Meanwhile, the Jets have been flat, to say the least, in this opening half. Ryan Tannehill, left leg injury. McDaniel leg injury. Dansby elbow injury for Miami. McKnight ankle injury for the Jets. Moore the throw. He slings to Bess. Terrific hands. Devon Bess, 6 yards. Moore is 3 of 5 for 34 yards, subbing in for Ryan Tannehill. Rex Ryan telling us in our meetings on Friday that this Miami team is the healthiest football team he's ever seen, that he's ever prepared for.
Well, his defense is doing something about it, too. And his offense. About the only thing they're doing right.
2nd and 4. Moore connects with Hartline. First down across the 35. Jeremiah Bell, the stop. 8-yard gain. We go to JB and Shannon. NFL Today update.
Shannon, does this look pretty to you?
Yes, the NFL MVP frontrunner, Matt Ryan, 12 of 13, 157. His 3rd touchdown of the half.
Ian and Dan.
Matt Ryan has it on automatic right now for the Atlanta Falcons. On a give for Bush. Handles that initial wave and then turns it into a 4-yard gain.
Well, if the Dolphins can get and keep Daniel Thomas healthy, they've got a great 1-2 punch with Bush and Thomas. Bush, of course, the elusive one. Thomas provides a little bit more power at 230. But good combination.
Bush has averaged just 2.8 yards per carry, though, in the last 3 games. And Joe Philbin making a point in our meetings to say that is the one area that they have to improve upon. They had it go in the first couple of weeks. Hartline coming back and brings it in at the 45-yard line. 5-yard pickup, short of a first down.
And quickly to the line of scrimmage on third down before the Jets can substitute goes Moore. Pretty impressive with how he's handling the no-huddle offense.
3rd and 1. Moore knocked down. Moore could not get it over Muhammad Wilkerson, all 6'4" of him, and it's 4th down for the Dolphins.
And Richie Incognito doing a good job working on Wilkerson. Watch him. There's Wilkerson. There's Incognito. But sometimes too good a job because he stones him at the line of scrimmage and just forces Wilkerson to eye the quarterback and play volleyball.
Brandon Fields to punt it. Jeremy Curley standing at his own 10-yard line. Jets looking for some kind of jolt right now. We'll see if it comes on special teams. End over end. Curley's going to let it bounce. Oh, wow. It bounced inside the 1 and went the other way. Are they going to call it a touchback?
It may have bounced right on the goal line. If that's the case, it is a touchback.
Yep.
Great call by the official standing right there. Ball out to the 20.
3 in Miami. Reggie Bush suffered a knee injury. Final drive of the first half, forced to leave the game. Darrelle Revis, torn ACL, left knee, out for the season. Dan Carpenter could have won it in overtime. He missed the 48-yard attempt, and then Nick Folk took advantage. 33-yard field goal. Jets win it 23-20. So there was some bad blood following that game, and then throughout the week, back and forth, mostly the Jets doing the talking, but then Miami retaliating a bit with Mike Pouncey having some choice words. Reggie Bush not backtracking off his initial comments regarding Darrelle Revis. And now Jets have made a change with Tebow opening up this drive at quarterback, working from the gun. Tebow runs into a crowd and not much there. He picks up 2 yards. Dan, I know you're asked about this a lot regarding Tim Tebow and where he fits in. From what you've seen of the Jets and what you expected to see with Tim Tebow, how have those two worlds meshed?
Well, the expectations have not been met. I mean, we were promised a lot of crazy plays, things that we've never seen before. Really, the only things we've never seen before is a personal protector in a punt formation, running the ball or passing the ball, which Tebow's done very well. But here he is, one play, gains a couple yards, just about 2, and then he's back to the sidelines. I don't see a whole lot of creativity here for the Jets and Tebow with the Wildcat offense.
No, the reality has not lived up to the hype. Sanchez, pump, Sanchez avoids, dump off, incomplete. Trying to hit Sean Green.
That's what happens. I mean, you can't have 2 quarterbacks. You can't have 2 strong personalities in an offense. If Sanchez is your guy, he's got to be your guy. But you can see he's hesitant at times, doesn't have the confidence, always looking over his shoulder, wondering if he's going to get yanked or not. They say he's not. He's their guy. But yet, Tebow is always there.
And I think with Sanchez, the mentality becomes you have less plays to make plays. So you might force things a bit, thinking, I may not get another opportunity on this drive if they decide to go with Tebow.
And that was a pretty good example of forcing a pass to his outlet receiver and not being comfortable throwing it.
3rd and 8. Sanchez, incomplete. Dustin Keller, the intended receiver, and he was surrounded.
And he had a couple of receivers in the area, but this offense looks absolutely horrible for the Jets right now. Keller, number 81, working against Carroll, and Carroll never looking back to the ball. Could have been called for pass interference. That's what Sanchez is thinking.
The Jets have 2 first downs. They have 33 yards of offense. Robert Malone punting. Thigpen catches cleanly, then thrown down by Trufant on special teams. Ruled down at the 37-yard line with a pink flag on the other side of the field. So a penalty after the 41-yard punt. Jets offense has been completely disjointed in this first half. They've found no flow, no rhythm whatsoever. Sanchez is 4 of 10. Green, 6 carries, 16 yards. Keller, the leading receiver, with 2 catches and 17 yards.
And last year in Denver, when Tebow took over, he was a quarterback. Okay, he replaced Kyle Orton. He was the guy in charge. So he got all the plays. He got all the practice time. He could run the Wildcat, the option type of game, or he could go back and pass and then run a quarterback draw or whatever, just ad lib. And it worked for Denver. But it's not working for the Jets because they're not committing all the way to him. They're still committed to Sanchez, and they should be. He's their quarterback.
And this penalty will work against the Jets.
Offside, number 84, offense. That's a 5-yard penalty. We'll replay 4th down.
Stephen Hill called offsides on the punt. A year ago, this is really where Tebow mania began. Denver trailing Miami 15-0, 3 minutes left. Daniel Fells, 3-yard touchdown from Tebow. Cuts into the lead. Tebow, the 2-point conversion to tie it. Then Matt Prater, 52-yard field goal in overtime. And that began the Tebow train. Come from behind victory against the Jets, where Tebow scored the touchdown late in Denver. They won a dramatic game against San Diego with Tebow making some plays and running the football. But I think you're right. I mean, the Jets have kind of put their toe in the pool, but obviously have not committed. The punt from Malone, and fortunate that it did take a jet roll. And it's touched at the 34-yard line. 48-yard punt. Saturday, Home Depot SEC on CBS delivers a day-night doubleheader. First, 3:30, Ole Miss goes between the hedges to battle the Georgia Bulldogs. Then in primetime, a rematch of the national championship. Number 1 Alabama takes on LSU. It all starts with college football today, 3 Eastern, here on CBS. First and 10 for Miami, a 17-0 lead over the Jets, 9:25 to go in this first half. Thomas in the backfield, Moore, play fake, looks downfield. Moore now, the slide, and ruled down at the 34-yard line.
Remember at the beginning of the game when we showed in the eye vision the crossing route to Hartline that worked so well for an 80-yard touchdown? That was the exact same play, and the Jets did a great job of recognizing it on the fly, adjusting their zone defense, and gave Matt Moore nowhere to go with the ball.
It's going to go down as a 1-yard loss and a sack for the Jets defense. Thomas bangs his way out across the 40-yard line. Daniel Thomas, who's had success against the Jets.
In the first game, he carried the ball 19 times for 69 yards. He scored a touchdown in that game. He scored a touchdown in this game as well.
And Thomas is a grinder. Different style, as you mentioned, compared to Reggie Bush. They also have the rookie Lamar Miller out of Miami, a 4th-round draft pick. Timeout called. Matt Moore in for the injured Ryan Tannehill. Left quad, left knee injury. Happened early in this game, and Tannehill is limping noticeably. Tannehill's been really impressive last 3 games, averaging 280 yards passing, better than 60% completion rate in each of those games. Let's take you back to the first quarter.
Yeah, it was a double blitz by Harris and Pace. Pace comes free, and just as he's bringing down Tannehill, he pulled his quad and also injured his left knee. And they tried to stretch him out of the sidelines. He spent time riding the exercise bicycle. But you got to hand it to Matt Moore coming in and doing a solid job. I mean, the job that Moore has done right now has kept the Dolphins feeling good about the way their offense is working.
Well, valuable playing experience for him last year. He thought he was going to have a shot to be the starting quarterback in Miami. They brought in David Garrard. He got injured in the preseason. Moore ends up making the team as the backup to Tannehill, who proved that he was worthy of the starting job, the number 8 overall pick out of Texas A&M.
And the Dolphins have to call timeout.
Timeout, Miami. 30-second timeout.
Joe Philbin upset, and rightfully so. Coming up, Verizon halftime report. JB and the rest of the gang, the latest NFL scores and highlights. That's coming up on the Verizon halftime report. This has not been a pretty game by any stretch. If you're Joe Philbin, you don't want to get sucked into the abyss. You lead 17-0. You want to continue to execute. The Jets are back on their heels. They've been able to do very little on offense. The Jets right now would take a 17-0 deficit, I think, and walk into the locker room and change course for the second half. Miami wants to add to it.
Well, and they've got great field position to come out of this with at least a field goal.
And that's a timeout after a timeout. Shotgun for Moore. Timing route down the sideline. Extending is Marlon Moore for the first down. Working against Kyle Wilson. He was able to get separation, and Matt Moore puts it exactly where it has to be as he delivers a strike.
The effort at the end of this ball's overthrown. Look at that stretch by Marlon Moore to go after that ball.
Matt Moore slings it, and he bounced it in the direction of Devon Bess. Isaiah Trufant putting the pressure on Moore as he released the football.
Now, defensive coordinator Mike Pettin, he can blitz the safeties too. It's just a great effort by Marlon Moore. Remember, he lost his balance on special teams, couldn't down the punt at the 1-yard line. I think that one made up for that play on special teams. 37 yards on that pass play.
Trufant now on the Jets sideline, 2nd and 10 at the 21. It's Thomas. We've seen more of Thomas than Bush. Mike DeVito with the stop. Gain of about half a yard on the play. It's 3rd and long.
And what that catch did is it gave the Dolphins field goal position for Carpenter. Carpenter, who hooked 2 field goal in the first game against the Jets, would like to atone for that.
It was more of Reggie Bush early. Lately, it's been more of Daniel Thomas. Dan Carpenter getting ready for a possible attempt. 6th play of the drive on a 3rd and 10 for Miami. From the gun, they bring the rush. Moore throws it deep. Knocked away. Trufant getting back there in a matchup with Bess. Field goal unit on at the 7:04 mark of the 2nd quarter.
Yeah, Matt Moore was looking for his tight end, Anthony Fasano, who is the single receiver on the far side of the field. He came back late down the middle here, and Bess was already out of the back of the end zone by the time the ball gets there. Good effort by Trufant again.
The wind's picking up a bit, but while it may have had an effect in the pregame, didn't affect it from this range. 39-yard attempt for Carpenter, and he splits the uprights to give Miami a 20-0 advantage. Still 6:59 to go in this first half. So Joe Philbin asked him about his team and said, look, these guys have played hard. This group is hungry. They prepare the right way for the most part. They've been ready to play each week. They've certainly been ready to play today against the New York Jets. Wednesday in primetime, JB, Chris Collinsworth, Phil Simms showcase America's favorite game with their own unique style. It's Inside the NFL, and it's Wednesday on Showtime. Roger Goodell, Commissioner of the NFL, on hand today.
With his new assistant?
Yeah, Dante Cano, who had the idea, 11-year-old, for the pink flags. Breast Cancer Awareness Month, wrote the letter. And he and Roger have had some nice bonding time.
Well, I think the pink flags are a good idea. We're not seeing a whole lot of them,
No,
are we?
we have not. You're right. 3 penalties against the Jets, none against the Miami Dolphins. Nick Knight is out with the ankle injury, so the former Dolphin Clyde Gates is back there, and he's not even going to touch this one. Jets will have it at the 20-yard line, and this has not been the kind of offensive resume that you'd want to put up on the board if you're the New York Jets in this first half.
Yeah, they've had poor field position to start each drive, and they just haven't done anything with their drives. The fumble obviously was a crucial one, and one of those punts was blocked for a touchdown. So everything the Dolphins are doing defensively after the bye week, you got to give credit to Kevin Coyle, their defensive coordinator. He's giving Sperano and the Jets offense all kinds of fits. Right now, Mark Sanchez walks out of the huddle and looks to the sideline trying to get the play called. Understand what the play has been called to start this drive.
Tony Sperano, head coach of the Miami Dolphins from 2008 to 2011. Todd Bowles took over when Sperano was let go, a 29-32 record. Green is dumped for no gain.
Yeah,
And to say restless is is not even the term. I mean, these fans have been on edge from the very start.
We've got two storms coming. Sandy, which is really serious, and then these fans are going to create a storm here if play selection is more of that for the Jets.
They've been going with an extra offensive lineman trying to get some kind of push on this O-line. It hasn't been working. 18 rushing yards for the Jets, 15 yards through the air. Sanchez is sacked. Ball popped loose. It was ruled down. Cameron Wake, first man there.
Well, Wake just does a super job of going right around Austin Howard. Here he is right here. Watch the speed. He's 6'3", 250. Gets the corner and is not going to be denied. Gets all the way to the quarterback. Sanchez has got to hang on to this ball, though. Starks there as well to rip the ball out. Another sack, another 7-yard loss.
Tony McDaniel is back in there for Miami. And that was pretty close to being a turnover.
Delay a game now. It's all going downhill for the Jets.
Delay of game. Offense. 5-yard penalty. Still down.
It's falling apart. It is 20-0 Miami in a half where the Jets have put together 2 first downs and 26 total yards of offense. 3rd and long for the Jets. Sanchez from the gun. Underneath route. Curley trying to create out in space and gets it back to the original line of scrimmage with an 11-yard gain.
Love that call defensively for Miami. They brought the blitz on the slot side, knowing the Jets had to go to the side adjustment to Curley. They allowed the reception and kept Curley from picking up the first down, 11 yards short of picking up the first down.
Do they have to think about Tim Tebow being a bigger part of this in the second half?
They need to make some type of adjustment. Sanchez threw the ball 45 times in their first meeting. He may have to do that, or somebody else may have to do that in the second half.
Thick Patton breaks one tackle, turns it upfield. Bottled up just short of the 40-yard line. A 54-yard punt, 12-yard return. Demario Davis makes the play on special teams. Tomorrow, 2 broke girls meet Cedric the Entertainer. Catch a new episode of the hit comedy that's tomorrow only CBS.
I thought you were going to say 2 broke girls met 1 broke offense.
That would work. Mark Sanchez, 5 of 11, 39 yards. Reggie Bush back in there, and Bush is going to get the call here. Bush has that ability to accelerate, waits for holes to develop, and then shoots through them. Excellent blocking up front for a 6-yard gain.
And that's really the biggest improvement in his overall game. Since he's come to Miami, he's been willing to run between the tackles. And with the patience and the quickness, very effective. It's surprising how many yards that the Dolphins have been able to get against his Jet defense running between the tackles.
Week 3, they had 185 yards on the ground against this Jets defense. Here's Bush. Stacked up as he falls forward to the 47.5. 2.5-yard gain there, as LaRon Landry will get credit for it. Landry was one of the Jets that was very outspoken this week, saying that Reggie Bush remembers the hit that he delivered that put him out of the game.
But it really wasn't the hit by Landry. It was more Sione Boa falling into the back of the legs of Bush that caused the injury to the knee.
Not a lot of talking here for the Jets. The talking has been on the scoreboard for Miami, 20-0. It's a big play for the New York defense. Can they get the offense the ball back? Outside, running the wrong way. Best breaking free down the sideline, but Cromartie's momentum carried Best towards the sideline, and a loss of 2 on the play.
Yeah, they're going to say his forward progress was stopped. I'm not so sure. Good effort by Cromartie to keep Best short there, but Best never steps out of bounds. I think the official may have jumped the gun right there because that's a broken tackle. He was still moving.
Now that's pivotal because it would have been a first down and a whole lot more down the sideline. Instead, the Jets will get the ball back here with under 3 minutes to go. First half, Brandon Fields to punt it. High punt. Curley ranges over. Fair catch called for, and he brings it in at the 13-yard line. Effective punt, 41 yards for Miami. Coming up, Verizon halftime report. JB and company, the latest NFL scores and highlights. That's all coming up on the Verizon halftime report.
You go back to that play where Cromartie is trying to wrap up Devon Best. You wonder about Cromartie's hand. He injured his hand early in the game, his left hand, and that time could not bring Best down. Here comes Tim Tebow now. We'll see how the Jets will employ him as Sean Green goes out. So Tebow line up in the huddle. He'll be a halfback in this situation.
But again,
now
the Jets
Sean Green back in.
Looking disorganized as Green was going to leave. Sanchez calls him back. And now Tebow sets up just off the line. They've got time to work with on the play clock. 2:43 on the game clock. Sanchez floats it out for Stephen Hill. Hill trying to battle for extra yardage, and look how many white jerseys make their way over to Hill. Spikes the ball along the sideline.
Now they're saying, the official's saying it's not a penalty for delay of game because he spiked it out of bounds. If he had spiked it inbounds, he would have been flagged for 5 yards there. Good effort by Hill, but the rookie has got to realize that, hey, you've made a nice play. This is not going to fire up your team.
Remember, Hill had the big drop last week against New England, which could have changed the game.
Similar type of route, too, just a hook route.
First down since late in the first quarter. Sanchez over the middle, connects with Schillens. First down for the Jets as we will hit the 2-minute warning here in the second quarter. That's a 14-yard pass play. 20-0 Miami. Jets trying to put some points on the board before we hit the break. One of the themes coming out of the loss last week against New England was that the Jets were too conservative in their play calling instead of going for the win, settling for a tie and see where the rest of the night took them in overtime. Rex Ryan scoffed at that idea. Right now the Jets in a 20-0 hole, 2 minutes to go in this first half. Carlos Dansby is back in there for Miami. Sanchez operating out of the gun. 7 of 13, 72 yards, and tip ball. Randy Starks, they continue to collapse the pocket on Mark Sanchez.
He got 2 completions on the previous 2 plays because the Dolphins went conservative defensively. They just rushed 3 and 4. That time they brought the blitz. Starks did a good job of reading the quarterback's eyes and making sure that little bubble screen, that slip screen, I know you know so much about, was nullified.
The right side of that Jets offensive line has struggled. Tight window. Sanchez connects with Clyde Gates, the former Dolphin. 4th-round pick of Miami back in 2011 out of Abilene Christian. 11-yard hookup.
Boy, this is a tight window. It looked like Carroll comes over there and helps secure the catch for Gates.
So Jets finally on the move here in Miami territory at the 43. Sanchez, room in front of Sean Green. Green brought down at the 22. Combination of Wilson and Smith. A 21-yard catch and run for the running back.
And not exactly a prevent defense, but it might as well have been just a 4-man rush. And again, Sanchez finds an outlet receiver.
Down to 1:07 to go in this first half. That's the longest catch of the season for Green. Sanchez on the out route. He hits Gates. So forward progress was called there. He wasn't ruled out of bounds, and Rex Ryan jumped over to the official and called a timeout. So that stops the clock with 56 seconds to play in this second quarter, and the Jets trailing Miami 20-0. Jets have 1 timeout to work with.
Yeah, they've got to get in the end zone with a touchdown here. They can't afford to just kick a field goal and go into halftime trailing by 17. But it'd be interesting to see how Miami defensively responds, because each time they've just rushed 4 Sanchez has had time to throw, and he's found his receivers. This is where you really got to keep your eye on Dustin Keller if you're the Miami Dolphins.
2nd and 5 for the Jets. Under a minute to go, first half. Jets have just now cracked 100 yards of offense in this first half. From the gun, Sanchez. Offline, incomplete. Stephen Hill, the intended target.
Now that's a situation where the quarterback maybe wanted the rookie wide receiver to go just a little bit deeper on his route before he cuts to the post, because you can see the timing is off, thrown behind him. Sean Smith came close to picking that one off. But the timing, length of the route, not what Sanchez wanted.
Crucial 3rd and 5 here for New York. They'll crowd the line. They handle the rush. Sanchez off his back foot. A floater. Incomplete. Hill with Sean Smith again. It's 4th down.
Well, it's been effective all day long for Miami, bringing pressure on Sanchez. Just about everybody coming. Watch all the guys standing up are coming. And right through the middle, where it's most dangerous on a quarterback, is where the pressure came.
Nick Folk, who is yet to miss this season. He's 11 of 11. 35-yard attempt in pregame warmups. This was the tougher direction to kick. And it's blocked! The Jets come up empty.
Now the guy celebrating is Olivier Vernon. And he does get his left hand on the ball as he blows by Jason Smith right up the middle. And everything Miami's doing, offense, defense, now special teams, contributes again. Right in the middle there is number 50, Olivier Vernon, the rookie. Watch him explode and get high in the air at 6'2". He just squeezes between the offensive lineman there. Jason Smith on one side.
This has been a special teams mismatch. Olivier Vernon had the recovery for a touchdown on the block punt. He blocks a field goal attempt. He gets to do his best Cy impression, Gangnam style. And the Jets fans are bewildered. 20-0 Miami. They'll take a knee here and take this lead into the locker room. The Miami Dolphins coming off their bye week, trying to go to 4-3. Mike Westhoff beyond frustrated as the New York Jets, with all the talking this week, not a lot to say right now for Rex Ryan and company. End of the first half, 20-0. Dolphins in front. Verizon halftime report coming up. At halftime, former Jet Dennis Byrd, his number 90 jersey retired, the 5th Jet to have their uniform number retired. Byrd suffered a neck injury November of 1992 against Kansas City when he collided with his teammate Scott Mercereau. Mercereau on hand. Byrd with a moving speech to the fans here at MetLife Stadium, and that number 90 will be a part of this stadium for the rest of time. The memories for Dennis Byrd are quite emotional here at the break. Start of the third quarter, Miami with a 20-0 lead over the New York Jets. It's time for our Droid Razor M play presented by Motorola. On special teams, Malone has a block by Wilson, recovered by Vernon. Dolphins get the touchdown. And really, Miami has just outplayed the Jets as we welcome you back here from the broadcast booth. Ian Eagle along with Hall of Famer Dan Fouts. I don't want to be too overdramatic, but I think with everything that is built up this week, the bye week coming up, there are a lot of people that would believe this is the most important stretch for the Jets this season if they're going to actually have a competitive football season.
Well, they had a tough loss last week against the Patriots, a game they should have won, and they promised they wouldn't be flat today coming off that emotional loss. Well, they are flat today. They know the bye week is coming up. They knew the importance of getting to 4-4 by the halfway point of the season. but Dolphins are fresh off their bye. They put in a bunch of new blitzes that appeared that has given Sanchez problems in the first half. And where it really shows up, it's in special teams. We saw the block punt, and we also saw on the extra point, the field goal try that was blocked. There was also an onside kick that was perfectly executed by the Dolphins. So the Dolphins were ready for this ball game, and it shows in the score.
The Jets get the ball to start this second half. Carpenter kicking off to Clyde Gates. Gates could not break to the clear as he crossed the 45. DeAndre Presley may have just saved a touchdown on a 47-yard return by Gates.
Well, and it looked like Demario Davis will get credit for the tackle, his own teammate here, as Gates cutting to the wide side of the field runs into Davis after the hit by Presley. Great start to this second half here for the Jets. Now they've got to do something with it.
And no change at quarterback. It's Mark Sanchez with a helmet on and ready to go under center. Tim Tebow on the sideline. 6 offensive linemen for the Jets, trying to get the running game going here with Green. Sean Green picks up 5 yards as it gets into Miami territory. Jason Smith, the extra offensive lineman. Should Tim Tebow be under center in your eyes?
No, I don't think so. I think Sanchez is the guy you drafted as a quarterback. He's been being developed now in his 4th year. You can't destroy his confidence, which in the past has been shaky enough. It would destroy Sanchez if you were to put Tebow in now in a game where he believes he can come back and lead the Jets to victory. 2nd and 5, pitch for Green. Good angle along that sideline and ducks out of bounds. Very close to a first down, just short. First half possessions, finally got a chance to get on the board and had a field goal blocked after the 9-play, 70-yard drive. Yeah, but the special teams for the Jets to open the second half, the great kickoff return by Gates that almost was a touchdown in itself. Other than that 70-yard drive, the longest drive for the Jets in the first half covered 10 yards. Keller, the motion man, on a 3rd and 1. Inside for Hilliard, and he battles for the first down. Lex Hilliard, 6th-round draft pick of the Miami Dolphins back in 2008 out of Montana. He did a great job of keeping his legs moving. It looked like he hit a stone wall there when he first got the ball. But needing just a couple of feet to get the first down, he got it. Tim Tebow is in. And he'll set up just off the line. So new set of downs for the Jets to work with. Sanchez steps and fires. Low throw. Keller there. He got his hands on it. Is it a clean catch? Yes, it is. First down, Jets. Right at the 20-yard line. 23 yards on the hookup. This is an outstanding effort by Keller to go down and get this low ball and to keep his hands underneath it, roll over, pull the ball into his body, secure the catch. So 1st and 10 for the Jets. It's Green. Runs into a wall. Paul Soliai, first man there. No gain on the play for Sean Green. But even that time when they bring Tebow in as a halfback on the wing right there, they go away from him. Do they really think that the Dolphins are worried about Tebow when he's lined up as a wingback? I don't think so. There's not a whole lot on film to make them worry about. Hayden Smith is in. Smith was activated off the practice squad. A tight end from Australia, former pro rugby player. He's wearing number 82. He played basketball at Metro State in Denver. Sanchez floats it up. And there were no skill position players in that area. The closest player was Slauson, and Sean Green was in the general vicinity. Now really good pressure. Sean Green is supposed to come out here on the screen. Comes out a little bit late, gets grabbed there by Dansby, which is a smart play. And that ball could have been picked off if it had been located sooner by the Dolphins. But the pressure up the middle caused Sanchez to throw it early, and that's why it was Incomplete.
Jets come in 29th in the NFL in total offense, just under 311 yards per game, 18th in scoring, 22.7 points per game. This is third down. Sanchez throwing. End zone. Incomplete. It bounced off of Stephen Hill. Sean Smith, the defender for Miami. It's fourth down.
Sean Smith showing that he's becoming one of the best corners in the league. Watch as he turns at the last minute. That's enough to distract Hill. How many times have we seen defensive backs not turn and look for the ball? Smith with perfect timing there causes this incompletion. And great play by Sean Smith.
Hill's still a very raw receiver. Rookie out of Georgia Tech, played in a triple option in college and just didn't have a whole lot of balls thrown his way. 38-yard attempt. Folk knocks it through. The Jets get sarcastic applause from the fans here at MetLife Stadium. It's 20-3 Miami. Holding steady at 58 degrees. We have had no rain whatsoever this afternoon. The hurricane expected to hit the tri-state area tomorrow, Hurricane Sandy. And there is some rain in the forecast for later on this evening. Nick Folk will kick it off after the field goal. Marcus Thigpen is deep. He'll move forward, catch it in stride at the 2. Thigpen stays on his feet, cutting to the outside. Thigpen still going. What a special teams effort this has been for the Miami Dolphins today. From all angles, 57 yards on the return by Thigpen.
You got to give Darren Rizzi, their special teams coordinator, a lot of credit for this effort. And speaking of effort, how about this from Thigpen? He returned a punt for a touchdown in the opener against Houston, but he just never quits here. He's the only guy out there that believes he can go all the way, and he darn near did.
First-year pro out of Indiana, Marcus Thigpen. There is Darren Rizzi, the special teams coordinator, and he sets up the Miami offense with a 1st and 10 at the 40. Let's not forget, Ryan Tannehill knocked out of this game with a left leg injury in the first quarter, so Matt Moore continues to work under center for the Dolphins. Reggie Bush tried to bounce off that initial tackle from the Jets and ends up losing 2 on the redirect.
Hey, he's lucky he didn't lose more than that. He was ready to spin all the way out and go to the wide side of the field. But he's got to know better than this. So there's just, that is a wall of white and then green, and down he goes.
Then met by Brian Thomas as he tried to go outside. 20-3, Miami in front. We'll hit the 11-minute mark of this third quarter. Bush again. Plants and cuts for a gain of 1.
Well, the Dolphins are in danger of wasting that great kickoff return with 2 very conservative calls on first down, trying to run Reggie Bush in between the tackles here and not getting much out of it.
Young linebacker Demario Davis, starting for the injured Bart Scott, makes that play. The rookie out of Arkansas State, 3rd-round pick. Coaching staff's been very impressed with his speedy learning curve in the first half of his rookie year. 3rd and 11, Fasano the motion man. Working from the gun, Moore. Moore rifles. Open. Catch made. Gaffney out of bounds. So everybody's been asking Joe Philbin, when are you going to get Jabbar Gaffney involved? He just did for 30 yards.
A great pass protection and a great route by Gaffney. Working against Wilson. And it's a post corner route and a beautiful throw on a line to Gaffney. First catch as a Dolphin, 444 for his career.
Smart veteran. He's played with Houston, New England, Denver, Washington last year. Had 68 catches for 947 yards. Thomas up the gut. Dragged down after the gain of 3.
You know, sometimes they say that the best deals made are the ones you don't make. A lot of talk about dealing Matt Moore in the offseason and even during the season. Aren't the Dolphins glad they didn't go that route?
So Tannehill, who had been on a roll, left leg injury early today, and Matt Moore has done an excellent job stepping in. Sells the play fake. Moore, a dart underneath. Thomas breaks 1 tackle. Finally brought down inside the 5. Wilkerson among those there for New York.
That was a real mano-a-mano out in the flat as Calvin Pace, 97 from the right side of the screen, is going to come and try to blow up Daniel Thomas. Thomas bounces off, picks up an extra 5 yards. Great play by Thomas, and not so great play by Pace. He's got to wrap up on that tackle.
3rd and goal. With Miami in front, 20-3. Touchdown and a field goal in the red zone so far today for Miami. 5 receivers set. From the gun. Moore gets rid of it to the end zone. Fasano. Touchdown. Anthony Fasano. Matt Moore. Perfect touch on the loft to the tight end Fasano.
Well, this one will be reviewed upstairs because it's a scoring play. Well, the question is, do both feet come down with control? He's got control of the ball, but where were his feet? Right foot down, left foot, toe tap, touchdown Miami. What a play by Fasano.
Anthony Fasano, his 5th career touchdown against the Jets.
That's just a thing of beauty, and you can see the black particles of rubber that come up as that left toe is dragged across the back of the end zone. Beautiful play by Fasano.
Set up by a 57-yard kickoff return by Thigpen. Extra point is good. Miami 27-3 over the Jets. Matt Moore had to get rid of it, ends up on his backside, but in celebration mode with a touchdown. Miami Dolphins looking for their 3rd straight win. They enter action a half game behind New England in the AFC East. Carpenter kicking off to Gates. And Gates loses his footing as he tried to angle towards the perimeter. He's brought down at the 12-yard line. Miscues for the Jets. There have been plenty of them.
We may not have time to show the ball. The onside kick perfectly executed by the Dolphins. Recovered by Trusnick. The block punt. Jimmy Wilson getting in. Olivier Vernon with the touchdown. How about Soliak getting a fumble recovery after the hit by Carroll? And the block punt. Again, it's Vernon. Block field goal that time.
So Jets take over. 1st and 10 at the 12. Sanchez on a give for Green. Green turns on the speed. Caught from behind. Yeah, that's the one issue with Sean Green. Doesn't have that extra gear that other running backs have. It will go down as his longest run of the season. He's a one cut and go kind of guy. 36 yards.
That's his longest run of his career. Good job up front. Mangold with the block there. You can see as well as Dukas comes around on the pull. Just what the Jets need, but they've got to get into hurry-up mode here, trailing by 24.
Jonathan Grimes gets an opportunity. The injury to Joe McKnight, just the 2nd carry of the year for the rookie out of William and Mary. 5-yard gain for Grimes.
And up to that point, the Jets had rushed 12 times for 29 yards, so Green gives him a big play on 1st down across midfield.
Well, you look at the numbers this season, Jets, 62% of their plays on 1st down have been running plays. That's 2nd in the NFL behind Seattle at 64% with Marshawn Lynch. So the fact that pretty much know what's coming on 1st down. Sanchez, incomplete. Rulin tried to extend out. Burnett was able to jar the ball loose. It's incomplete.
Yeah, this is real good defense by Burnett. Left hand gets right on the ball, and now he'll pop it out. Good effort by Rulin to try to corral it. Incomplete.
Conrad Rulin, childhood friends with Mark Sanchez out of Mission Viejo, California. Played youth football, youth basketball together. Then one went to USC, other went to Stanford. Knocked down on a 3rd and 5. Sanchez cannot get that ball cleanly as Carlos Dansby busts through to make the play. Playing with an injured elbow.
You can see the wrap on that left elbow. Here's Dansby right here. He's going to shoot this gap. Dansby goes at 6'4", and he's just no match for Grimes. He blocked the ball with his bad arm.
Devon Bess, the return man, fair catch called for. He brings it in at the 14-yard line off the foot of Robert Malone. Jets continue to be in standstill mode on offense. Miami has taken advantage. Fergie from the Black Eyed Peas in attendance here at MetLife Stadium, wearing her Dolphin jersey underneath. Bush with the zigzag to the outside. Good block by Jake Long.
And a little chat with Rex Ryan on the sidelines.
Are we heading towards a recovery or a recession? Answers from a swing state plus the NFL team owner with a unique American success story. On 60 Minutes, that's tonight only. CBS. First down for the Dolphins, a 27-3 lead, 6:42 and counting left in the third quarter. Give for Bush. Falls forward at the 30, gain of 1. Jeremiah Bell, the former Dolphin, in on that stop.
Well, at the end of that last play, brief conversation with the head coach. They're doing the talking with their pads today, are the Miami Dolphins.
Reggie Bush did not accept Rex Ryan's statement regarding the hot sauce comment, that he was just saying, hey, we had to keep an eye on him. He took it as they were looking to injure him. Lunging attempt by Hartline. It's incomplete. Rex Ryan came out and said, hey, I apologized for that. Now Reggie should apologize for what he said regarding Darrelle Revis. That what goes around comes around. When Revis got injured, the torn ACL in the last meeting between these two teams, costing Darrelle Revis his season.
And I doubt that Reggie apologized moments ago on the sidelines.
No, I don't think that was the theme of their conversation. I've done some lip reading in my day. 3rd and 9 for Moore. Play clock winding down. Moore hit as he throws. It's up for grabs. Incomplete, and a flag down. Hit coming in from Marcus Dowden.
Yeah, this is hands to the head. They hit Dowden hit Moore in the face, roughing the passer.
Incognito just made his way towards the Jets sideline.
Personal
Moore
foul.
went to get him.
Roughing the passer, number 92, defense. Forceful contact to the quarterback's head. 15-yard penalty, first down.
Rookie out of North Alabama. The series is over.
They get pressure on the quarterback finally. Dowden's number 92. And gets inside of Martin and then goes right to the head of Moore. The series is over if you don't do that.
Sets up Miami with a 1st and 10 at the 45-yard line. Moore making the case that he got hit right in the head. 5th penalty against the Jets. The Miami Dolphins, no penalties here this afternoon.
Go!
Handoff, Thomas running lane. Thomas brought down as flags fly at the 44 and the 48. Thomas taking it to the second level, a 19-yard rip for him. Extended conversation for the officials.
There are 2 fouls on the play, both by the offense. Holding number 68, that penalty is declined. Personal foul clipping number 71 offense, that penalty is accepted. 15 yards, first down.
So it was Incognito on the hold. It was Martin on the clip. And it is the first official penalty for the Miami Dolphins.
Now, Incognito, his penalty is going to be declined. There it is right there on Muhammad Wilkerson. And then rolling up on the back of the legs was Martin coming down from his right tackle spot. But on the previous play, it was smart of Matt Moore to go and get Incognito away from the Jets bench. Good leadership by the quarterback, because he knows Incognito will get involved any way he can.
And the ball is loose. Miami coughs it up on the scoop by Jeremiah Bell. The Jets take over in Miami territory.
It looked like Incognito may have knocked the ball out of the hands of Reggie Bush.
And the officials trying to restore order with Wilkerson and Incognito getting over
Watch
into each
68
other.
here as he takes on the block of Harris, and the ball comes out. How about Jeremiah Bell recovering against his old teammates? But just looked like that ball is out, fumble before Bush is down. And already confirmed by the replay booth.
Reggie Bush, his first lost fumble of the season. 7th fumble lost for Miami this year. An opening for the Jets, but they have not shown any sustained offense to make this stick. 5:37 to go in the third. On a give for Green. And a pile there as he takes it for 2 yards.
You saw how deep the Dolphins were playing with their safeties. Sanchez saw that. So he counts how many men are in the box and automatically goes to a draw play. But I don't think they can afford to just run the ball and take so much time off the clock. Trailing by 24.
Here's Sanchez. Almost intercepted. Comes off the hands of Nolan Carroll. Clyde Gates, intended target.
Well, Nolan Carroll has had some memorable moments here at MetLife Stadium. You can see the ball thrown behind Gates. Wasn't sure if that's intended for Curley or Gates. It certainly surprised Carroll as it goes through his hands and hits him in the face. Sanchez now 1 of his last 8.
Carroll stepping in for the injured Richard Marshall. He's done a good job at that other cornerback spot opposite Sean Smith. On third down, Sanchez. He's got Gates for a first down. Inside the 15. 16 yards on the pass play.
Good route by Gates, too. A little hesitation, then a sharp cut to the inside. Gets him separation away from Carroll. Don't like seeing him go to the ground, though, after the catch. Try to get more yardage. Try to get in the end zone.
Fans were chanting for Tebow prior to that throw by Sanchez. That quiets down the fans, at least for the moment. But again, not a great pace here for the Jets as they huddled up. Handoff Sean Green. He gets banged down hard for no gain on the play. Paul Soliai and Jared Odrick. Now, this Miami front seven is really impressive.
Well, and your point about the lack of urgency by the Jets offense. Did they realize they're 24 down with just 4 minutes to go in the third quarter? Break the huddle now with 18 seconds to go on the play clock.
And just no sense of urgency in general, considering that the fate of their season in many ways could be on the line here to fall to 3-5. Sanchez intercepted, picked off by Clemens. Chris Clemens out of bounds. It goes from bad to worse for the New York Jets.
Clemens had an interception in the first game. It looked like Sanchez trying to go to his favorite target, Dustin Keller, and just sails it over his head. And Clemens, with a huge interception, turns back the Jets one more time.
27-3, the Miami Dolphins in front of the Jets. 3:45 to go in the third. Slant. Moore trying to connect with Devon Bess. Mark Sanchez picked off by Chris Clemens.
Well, here's Keller here. He's going to go try to run a post route, but watch Carlos Dansby legally chuck right here. Keller, that throws the timing off between the quarterback and the tight end. And Clemens was eyeing the quarterback all the way, hoping he would try to get the ball into his favorite receiver.
Third interception in the red zone this season, tied with Matthew Stafford for the most in the NFL.
Go!
On a handoff. Thomas will not give up the football. The Jets are trying to jar it loose. 5-yard gain for Thomas, and David Harris, first man there for New York. Well, we know that this is a very serious weather situation coming up in the tri-state area. Fans showed up here, though. This was basically a packed house early, and some decisions have been made to go batten down the hatches in respective homes in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut.
And they're not too thrilled about the home team's performance today either.
I think that may have played a role.
You think?
A little bit. 3rd and 5. Stack the line here. Jets pointing to Miami that they moved. Flag down. False start.
Number 8, offense. 5-yard penalty, 3rd down.
It's tough when the quarterback has a false start. Isn't he the guy that tells everybody what the snap count is?
That's my understanding.
That's the problem, though. We've seen that a lot this year with the quarterbacks in the shotgun formation. They're trying to draw the defense off sides or just anticipating the snap. They move a little bit too early and they'll get the flag.
Quick day for Ryan Tannehill after the leg injury on a sack from Calvin Pace. But Matt Moore has come in and has done solid work. They'll throw the deep ball again. One-on-one off the hands of Gaffney.
Boy, what a battle down the field between Gaffney and Kyle Wilson. Another beautiful pass by Matt Moore, and it hits the hands of Gaffney. Maybe a little rust on those gloves. Gaffney knows he should have had it, and he would have scored.
4th down for the Dolphins, and Brandon Fields on. One of the better hang-time punters in the NFL. John Denny will snap it. Curley is waiting at the 20-yard line for New York. Another booming kick. Curley, fair catch called for. And he brings it in at the 12. That's where the Jets will start off this drive. They trail by 24 late in the 3rd. Here's the breakdown for Rex Ryan's team. 10 possessions today. Had a punt and field goal attempt blocked. Lost a fumble and interception. And they've been limited to 10 first downs. Sanchez from the gun. Slauson is back in there. Sanchez throws. Bounced around and almost picked off by Rashad Jones. Keller, the intended receiver. And the fans react after the latest throw from Sanchez. Now the fans are clamoring for Tim Tebow. The question is whether or not Rex Ryan is going to pull the trigger.
Yeah, it's a can of worms to begin with. It's a bucket of worms if you put him in right now. Because then you're admitting that your team is in disarray, especially going into the bye week.
Sanchez. Over the middle. Catch made by Keller and met very quickly there by the linebacking core from Miami, limiting Keller to a 4-yard gain.
I just think this Miami defense has just played superior in both these games. They forced Sanchez to throw it 45 times in game 1. And where he completed less than 50%. He's less than 50% here today.
Well, we asked Rex Ryan, what's the difference between the first meeting and now getting ready for this second one? Ryan said, we're just much better than we were when we played Miami the first time. We're a different team. Fundamentals are better, setting the edges defensively. He called the team's effort embarrassing defensively against Miami in the first game. Curley with the catch, but not enough for the first down.
Yeah, they're going to have to go for it here on 4th down. Bring in extra offensive lineman Jason Smith along with Lex Hilliard. They handed the ball to Hilliard in a similar situation the last time they had real short yardage on a 3rd down.
Here's a problem for Rex. Miami is much better than they were in the first meeting.
And fresher, too. I think that loss to New England took a lot out of the Jets. They claimed it didn't, but their play today belies that.
That's the full length of a football short of a first down. A minute 23 to play, 3rd quarter. 27-3 Miami.
And there's no question you have to go here. You can't punt the ball back to Miami's offense.
Week 3, the Jets averaged 2.9 yards per carry on the ground against Miami, 93 rushing yards. They've been held to 71 rushing yards here today, most of it from a Sean Green run. 4th and 1, over the top. Hilliard has got the first down and then some.
It's a similar play to when he carried the ball earlier in the game, converting a first down for the Jets. But again, the Jets go back to the huddle. They spent all that time in the huddle calling the play.
Down to 45 seconds to go in the third quarter. Sanchez to throw it. Chaz Schillens goes down to get it. It'll turn into a modest gain of 5 yards with Nolan Carroll there defensively.
And you saw Chris Clemens coming on the blitz. And again, it's a side adjustment. Quickly out to Schillens, who made a nice catch of a low pass.
15 of 31, Sanchez, 162 yards and the interception. 2nd and 5 now. Sanchez can't quite get it to Schillens. Incomplete. 12 seconds to go in the third.
Yeah, it looked like Schillens lost his footing on this play. Still almost made the catch. He's on laying on the ground. It's been that kind of day for the Jets.
A win today would have given the Jets a 3-1 record in the division and possible tiebreakers down the road. Obviously, that's not even part of the thought process right now after the way the Jets have performed, trailing 27-3. 3rd and 5. Sanchez, long ball, too long. 1 Jet receiver there, Curley. 3 Miami defensive players, and it's 4th down. Cameron Wake with the stick on Mark Sanchez.
Well, they just needed 5 yards, and the Dolphins blitz, so that opens up man-to-man coverage there for Sanchez, who gets pounded again, this time by Cameron Wake. But throwing the ball 20, 30 yards down the field when they just need 5 to keep the drive alive, have to bring out the punt team.
Robert Malone, the second-year punter, formerly with Tampa Bay and Detroit, boots it. Devon Bess, fair catch called for, not taking any chances. They'll have it at the 28-yard line. Miami. It's been an emotional time for the Dolphins because of the way they've performed. They lead at 27-3 after 3 on CBS. Miami 27, the Jets 3 as we start play in this fourth quarter. MetLife Stadium, East Rutherford, New Jersey. Ian Eagle, Dan Fouts, and the rest of our CBS crew. All Dolphins looking to continue their winning ways. This would be win number 3 in a row as Thomas shake and bake out across the 35-yard line. Well, this guy's happy. San Francisco Giants fan, and so is my partner Dan Fouts and our producer Robert Monsbach.
3-0, and no team has ever come back from a 3-0 deficit to win the World Series.
You say that with
feeling good, man.
A giddy tone.
Feeling good.
2nd and 3 now for Miami. Shotgun formation for Moore, in for the injured Ryan Tannehill. And it's Thomas again. He picks up 2 yards short of a first down. Wilkerson, first man there for New York.
Hey, you got to give Matt Moore a lot of credit for his job today after Tannehill goes down after the hit by Calvin Pace. Injured his left quad and left knee. But Matt Moore's come on to complete 10 out of 18 for 118 yards, 1 touchdown, and probably more impressive than his stats is the way he's led his team with the no-huddle offense.
Well, we asked Joe Philbin about Tannehill. He said the thing that's impressed him most is his ability to work through the rough spots, keep on fighting. Even that Week 1 game, you and I happened to work it in Houston. That's a situation where a young QB could have been scarred, considering what the Texans did against Tannehill and the Dolphins offense.
Yeah, he had so many balls tipped up in the air, and it seemed like every time it was tipped up in the air, the Texans intercepted the ball. 21 points were scored in a matter of 2 minutes at the end of the first half by Houston, and that it really could affect the future of a young quarterback. But Tannehill, he's brushed it off. He's played very well. Hopefully he's not too badly injured today.
Jeremy Curley on the season, averaging just over 14 yards per return. Does have a touchdown against Buffalo. Fields the punt. Fields is a serious weapon.
That was a fabulous punt. He chased Curley all the way to the 5-yard line. Curley thinking he might have a chance to return this 58-yarder. Ball bounces dead right and out of bounds, and the Jets will be backed up one more time.
Lopsided day in favor of the Miami Dolphins. 27-3. The Dolphins, one of the most improved teams in the NFL this year. Terrific job that Joe Philbin has done on a give for Green. Green getting away from one tackler and picks up 7 yards. In the process, Chris Clemens with the stop. You know, the other part with Philbin and I think Miami as a whole, they've limited the drama. That seemed to be an issue the last couple of years. They had certain players that would raise the drama level up throughout the season, and that just has not been an issue for this Miami team.
What they have in Joe Philbin is a coach who's willing to develop players and not interested in other team superstars, interested in superstars coming through the development that him and his coaching staff will make.
Stephen Hill with the catch and run for a first down just short of the 25. JB and Shannon Sharp standing by. NFL Today update.
The poised young quarterback again, Shannon.
Russell Wilson's second touchdown on the day. This one's 16 yards. One hand. Zach Miller. They're on top again, 24-21.
Seattle's won the last 3 against Detroit. Ian and Dan.
All right, guys, Mark Sanchez is now 16 of 34, 172 yards and a pick, but his team is in a 24-point hole. Throw to Dustin Keller underneath the coverage, 4 yards. Carlos Dansby there, the linebacker, drawing the assignment on the tight end. And Tim Tebow waits. I don't see anything changing dramatically here. This is the game plan. Mark Sanchez is their quarterback. With the bye week coming up, I'm not sure they want to bring this story to the next level. Keller, first down, makes a good move up the field to the 43-yard line, and Carlos Dansby is down. So Dansby was dealing with the elbow injury and now the hand.
Yeah, his right hand now.
So Austin Spittler will come back in. We saw a lot of him when Dansby went out in the first half. Third-year linebacker, 7th-round pick in 2010 from Ohio State. New set of downs for the Jets. Sanchez steps up. Dump off. It's Green. Cut down at the 49-yard line of Miami by Spittler.
And the Dolphins will take advantage of the little bit of time with that the Jets are taking at the line of scrimmage to bring in fresh defenders.
So a 2nd and 2 now for New York. We come up on 10 minutes to go in the 4th. 27-3 Dolphins. Sanchez complete, connects with Gates. Nolan Carroll there. It's a 4-yard gain. They'll move the chains once again.
And of course the Dolphins will let these little dinky passes go. Not concerned about giving up 4 and 5 yards per pass completion with this big lead.
Gates had 2 catches coming into the game for the season. He's got 4 here today. Staying on his feet, Green gains extra yards by churning those legs. Picks up 8. Clemens with the stop for Miami. Now Jonathan Grimes will come in. No Bilal Powell. He's out with a shoulder injury. Joe McKnight suffered an ankle injury, just exacerbated a previous injury. Sanchez, double pump and a sack. Kevin Burnett brings him down.
Well, the pump was a double move to the outside by Schillens, but Sanchez didn't have enough time because of the extra pressure. Burnett with the sack, and Burnett has just been outstanding for the Dolphins this year. Second leading tackler for Miami. 1.5 sacks now on the season.
Jets have not swept the Miami Dolphins under Rex Ryan, now in his 4th year as the head coach of the Jets. They got the win in week 3 down in South Florida, but it's all Dolphins here today. 27-3 Miami. Sanchez, rush coming again. Sanchez incomplete. Clyde Gates, the intended target. NFL Today update. JB and Shannon in New York.
Efficient numbers by Aaron Rodgers.
Yes, JB, Donald Driver haven't been used much this year. But with the injury, this 4-yard touchdown stokes them out to a bigger lead, 21-12 over the Jags.
Green Bay looking for a 3-game win streak. Back to Ian and Dan.
And it seems like Green Bay has gotten back into those winning ways, which could mean trouble for a lot of teams in the NFC.
You know, the amazing thing about the Packers is their ability to overcome injuries, as they did in their Super Bowl year just 2 years ago.
On 4th down, Sanchez pump. Sanchez fires on a crossing route to Gates and a 1st down.
You know, there's nothing wrong with Sanchez when he has time to throw, which is probably say that about a lot of quarterbacks. Whenever the Dolphins drop back in coverage and Sanchez can pump, fake, and step up in the pocket and throw, he's on target. It's when pressure comes, and that's the case with most quarterbacks, where he's a little bit off target.
Working from the gun, Sanchez, incomplete. Keller unable to haul it in for New York. Stops the clock with 8:09 to play in the 4th.
But you're on the place on the field now here at the 25-yard line where you ought to just be throwing the ball in the end zone every time. Because every time, even if you complete a pass, there's 30 or so seconds go off the clock. And you don't have 30 or so seconds.
That's 5 drop passes today for the Jets. Tony Sperano in his first year as the offensive coordinator for this team. 2nd and 10. Sanchez over the middle to Gates. Brought down at the 5. It's a 20-yard pass and catch to Gates. And if you're Gates, there's no reason to celebrate right now.
No, all I do is look at the scoreboard. Nice catch and good effort and everything, but just give the ball to the referee, let him put it down on the ground and get your offense moving again. But here they are back in the huddle, and tick, tick, tick.
In the red zone today, Jets 0 of 2 had a field goal blocked, and Sanchez threw a pick. 1st and goal for the Jets. Down to 7:25 remaining. Sanchez, touchdown. He hooks up with Schillens for the score.
Nice slant route by Schillens. He's got a big body. 6'4", 225, his first touchdown catch of the season. He gets inside of Carroll. It's like a mix-up in the Miami secondary. Allowed number 85 to get so wide open.
So they'll go for 2 here, try to cut it to 16, which would mean you're within 2 touchdowns with 2 two-point conversions.
Odds are against all that happening, but you've got to at least try. Yeah, Miami's going to call a timeout.
7:20 to go. Jets now trailing 27-9 to the Dolphins. Jets will go for 2 here. They now trail 27-9 after the touchdown. Mark Sanchez hooking up with Chaz Schillens. 2-point try, trying to cut it to 16. 7:20 remaining in the 4th. Sanchez, incomplete. Keller, the intended receiver. Jets trail by 18. They'll kick it off when we come back. Coming up, Subway postgame show. JB and Company, the latest NFL scores and highlights. It's all coming up on the Subway postgame show. Miami prepared for an onside attempt from Nick Folk. They've moved Devon Bess up to the 24-yard line, and Folk bangs it up in the air. Hands team out there, and it is Brian Hartline, who's got tremendous hands, securing it for Miami.
And that was designed perfectly by the Miami hands team.
Nobody knows the game like a quarterback. Don't miss Phil Simms, Rich Gannon, Steve Berline, special guest Gary Danielson. NFL Monday QB. That's tomorrow, 6:30 Eastern, only on CBS Sports Network, the 24-hour home of CBS Sports. No question, as the ball made its way right into the breadbasket of Brian Hartline. So Miami has it 1st and 10 at the 45 of the Jets.
That's really the dilemma on an onside kick. Do you kick it along the ground hoping to hit your opponent, or do you bounce it high like that? Hartline in perfect position to make that catch.
On the ground for Thomas. Takes a hit. Spins for a gain of 4.
Now, good relief roll. Good job by Matt Moore today as he came in and led the Dolphins to this win. It's Malcolm Moore with that one. Gaffney gets his first catch. And how about this reception in the end zone by Fasano? The native from Verona, New Jersey. A huge catch, and Moore on his backside saying, all right.
2nd and 6 for the Miami Dolphins. Each of their last 4 games had been decided by 4 points or less until today. Moore throws to a spot. Devon Bess. He's on time with Bess. Isaiah Trufant back there for New York. That covers 13 yards and a first down.
And if you want a definition of a smart receiver, you just saw it. Devon Bess making the catch on the sidelines, sat down before he was forced out of bounds, and that would have stopped the clock.
Well, heading into the bye week for the Jets, there's going to be a lot of conversation regarding the future of this team.
Conversation's a good word.
Yep.
Chatter, maybe?
Chatter, the quarterback spot.
Just the whole team in general.
On a give for Thomas. And I think that's the bigger picture issue. You know, obviously, the quarterback gets a lot of the blame, gets a lot of the praise when things go well. But this appears to be a lot more than just a Mark Sanchez problem.
And I think it shows up in special teams as much as anything. We've seen a blocked punt today, a blocked field goal, executed onside kick against the Jets.
5:47 to go. We're in the 4th. Miami up big on the Jets. 4th quarter action here at MetLife Stadium. 5:42 to go. The Miami Dolphins in front of the Jets 27-9. Mastrud and Thomas getting into it a little bit as Daniel Thomas carried the ball for 1. Timeout call by the Jets. They've got 1 remaining. And a chance to tell you about next Sunday, doubleheader day here on CBS. First, Broncos battling the Bengals. The Dolphins take on the Colts, or the Bills meet the Texans. Then in game 2, the Steelers in a crucial showdown against the New York Giants. It all starts with the NFL Today, presented by Southwest Airlines, noon Eastern, here on CBS. So we've talked about the Jet side of things. What about for Miami and Joe Philbin? I know you've been impressed with him and just the way he handles himself.
He reminds me of the great 49er coach, Bill Walsh. Just the same type of demeanor. Got a sly little sense of humor, but a disciplinarian who demands perfection.
3rd and 7 now from the 25. And it's Thomas again. A lot of Jet defenders bunched into that area, and at some point you figured this would start to happen. You know, if you're Miami, obviously all you have to do is point to the scoreboard, and that settles all arguments today. But Pouncey, who had some choice words this week regarding Aaron Mabin, haven't even called Mabin's name today.
And that was Daniel Muir of the Jets who tossed Pouncey to the ground. That's a heavyweight tussle there.
Division rivalry that goes back 47 years. Dan Carpenter on for the field goal attempt. Last year, the Miami Dolphins started 0-7. They went 6-3 to finish the season. And Matt Moore was a big part of that. A big reason for their success late in the year. And Moore proved that he was a viable NFL quarterback. He thought maybe he'd have a chance at a starting job somewhere. Didn't pan out in Miami. They addressed their quarterback needs with Tannehill. Carpenter, the field goal to extend the Miami lead 30-9, and we still have 4.5 to go. This is going to be a bit of an adventure
Any surprise that Incognito's in the middle of it?
No, he does not live up to his last name in these moments.
Oh, and the kiss goodbye. Another one.
Double kiss. So the Miami Dolphins will improve to 4-3. Up next at Indianapolis, home for Tennessee, at Buffalo. Now, these are games that would be considered winnable for a Miami Dolphin team that is now over the 500 mark for the first time since week 14 of 2010.
And one of the real advantages, maybe it's a hidden advantage in that schedule, is all their home games are played at 1 o'clock, where the heat can be a major factor. And in fact, in the first meeting between these two teams, Rex Ryan even admitted that perhaps they got worn down in the second half because of the heat at midday.
Haven't been to the playoffs, Miami, since Sperano took over in 2008. Matt Moore, that's a good feeling for a backup quarterback forced into action and to maintain the level of play that Miami has grown used to the last few weeks. Carpenter kicks it off to Gates. And he'll take a knee. Don't forget, Subway postgame show is coming up. JB and the crew, Dan, Shannon, Coach Cower, and Boomer. Scores, highlights, it's all coming up on the Subway postgame show.
And getting back to Matt Moore, when he came into the game, Tannehill hadn't been playing all that good. I mean, he was a little bit shaky, missed the first couple of passes, threw a couple of low ones, and the game was still in doubt when Moore took over. And he did a great job of maybe even lifting this offense up and giving them a belief that, hey, we can compete and we can win this game, which they've done easily with the help of their defense and special teams.
Jets have their bye week coming up, and then back-to-back road games in Seattle and in St. Louis. Sanchez throws, and there's nobody there. Stephen Hill, the closest receiver. Sanchez expected him to carry his route to the outside. So there's a schedule for the Jets at Seattle, at St. Louis, New England, Arizona at home, and then hitting the road for back-to-back games again in Jacksonville and at Tennessee.
And it'll be interesting to see what the Jets do with Tim Tebow with the bye week to maybe work on some of the things that they promised their fans when they brought Tebow over here from Denver.
You know, I think that's also been a big part of the issue, that there was this buildup in the preseason that you wait, you'll see some things you've just never seen using Tim Tebow. We've got big plans. And obviously those things have not materialized as Keller brings it in, but a penalty marker thrown at the 37-yard line.
That's going to be holding against Miami, but so this penalty will probably be accepted because of the automatic first down that carries with the penalty.
Holding, number 56, defense. That's a 5-yard penalty from the previous spot and an automatic first down.
Jets lost one of their biggest weapons when Santonio Holmes went down with a season-ending left foot injury, that Liz Frank injury. And you just look at their roster and you wonder where the offense is going to come from. Sustained offense for the rest of the season. They're going to hit the midway point at 3-5. Sanchez knocked down. Koamisi will get credit for that one for Miami. Well, we know your opinion on what you would have done in the second half. You would stick with Mark Sanchez. Now you've got a bye week. You've got a lot of time between now and their next game. Would you make the move? Would Tim Tebow be the next step for the Jets in your eyes?
So you got to ask the question, is Tim Tebow a better quarterback than Mark Sanchez? And by quarterback, I mean all the skills that go into it. And I think the consensus is, no, he's not. But Sanchez's performance today raises the question that maybe there's more playing time at the quarterback position in the future for Tebow.
Sanchez hits Jeremy Curley short of a first down. Has to get to the 35. It's a 9-yard pickup. And we are under the 4-minute mark now of this fourth quarter.
But if the Jets continue to lose and they have just 3 of their remaining 8 games after the bye at home here, wouldn't be surprising to see Tim Tebow play quarterback exclusively and not so much of the Wildcat.
Was under center just once today. They used him in that wing formation a couple of times. threading the needle to Clyde Gates. And Gates has a first down against his former team. That covers 9 yards. Tebow was really more of a decoy on offense when he was out there.
And has been for most of the year. And when he does get in at the Wildcat position, it looks like they just run him right up the middle for very little gain, very little imagination.
That bounces off of Curley, incomplete. And then it obviously raises the broader question, which is, well, why did you acquire him? You knew that these kinds of conversations would take place if the team struggled.
Well, you're inviting a quarterback controversy. And if there's anything that divides a locker room, divides a city, divides a team, it is when you have to choose between two quarterbacks. It's a unique position of leadership, and to have two guys vying for that one position is an unhealthy situation.
Sanchez, quick hitter for Curley. Curley trying to get into the open field, and he's brought down just inside the 45. First down for the Jets, 12 yards. Sanchez can pad his numbers here. 276 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. 49 passes for Mark Sanchez. Running play for Hilliard. Hilliard's a hybrid. 5'11", 235 pounds. Actually ran track in high school, so he was more of a featured back going back to his Montana days, and then had to make a bit of a transition coming to the NFL. 2nd and 2. Soft toss, incomplete, trying to hit Curley. Wilson nullifies it.
And a late flag, they're going to get Wilson for pass interference or holding. He's going to be holding against Wilson.
Holding, number 27, defense. 5-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Quote from Rex Ryan in our sit down with him on Friday: "We are emptying the tank because the bye is coming up." Now they're on empty. Just not the way they visualized it.
And they're almost at a dead stop because they're on empty. I kind of like these pink flags. They show up more than the yellow flags, don't you think?
Oh, you like how they pop?
They pop. They're hot.
Sanchez slides on the scramble. 6-yard gain for Sanchez. Timeout called by the Jets using their final timeout. And they'll also have a stoppage at the 2-minute warning coming up. They trail Miami 30-9. In a game that has been controlled by the Dolphins. It'll be 3 straight wins for the Miami Dolphins. They will remain a half game behind the New England Patriots, who have taken care of business in London today against the St. Louis Rams. And Miami's record right now would get you in the playoffs in the AFC.
And when they're 1-3, people are going, well, maybe this wasn't such a good idea, changing coaches and everything. Well, this is not a sprint. It is a marathon each season. And right now the Dolphins, as you said, 3 straight wins. And close to first place in the tough AFC East.
Sanchez swings it for Grimes. And he did step out of bounds as we hit the 2-minute warning. 4-yard gain for the Jets. 2 minutes to play in the 4th. Standings in the AFC East: New England at 5-3, Miami 4-3, Buffalo is 3-4, yet to win a game in the division, and the Jets fall to 3-5. Two minutes to go. Miami 30, Jets 9. Sanchez working out of the gun. Gets rid of it as the rush was coming, and it's caught by Keller. Brought down at the 19-yard line. Jets have no timeouts remaining. That's a 3-yard gain through the air.
That was that same blitz that the Dolphins used to begin the game. Jimmy Wilson coming off the slot almost got to Sanchez.
Brian Hartline telling us that he believes the Dolphins have earned their record. They're confident but a humble bunch. And he said, I thought he put it really well, Dan, people just don't really know what to make of us.
Yeah, they've been under the radar, you know that term, which means that exactly what you just said. What type of team are they? The one thing that we knew coming into the season is that defensively, they are very stout up front. That front seven is as good as any in the league, and they've proven it today by actually shutting down the Jet rushing game throughout that first half when the game was still in doubt.
So 3rd and 7 now with 1:29 to go. Season high in attempts for Sanchez, 52 of them. This will be number 53 as he slings it. Hits the ground. Randy Starks supplying the pressure on Mark Sanchez, and it's 4th down.
Now, we talked about how he had to throw it 45 times in the first game between these two. But that's what happens when you can't run the ball. And it also happens when you get behind, as the Jets have done in this one.
Well, is this Miami team for real is now going to be the question posed. Moving to 4-3 and very competitive within the AFC East and the AFC in general. You just see how many teams have been hovering around 500. Upstairs, Curley lost it at the last moment, and it's ruled incomplete. Jimmy Wilson again back there.
Really a great effort by Curley to go up and get this one, but an equally great effort by Wilson to strip the ball at the very end.
Jimmy Wilson, physical safety, second year from Montana, and he has been a standout here today defensively for the Dolphins. Jets have no timeouts left. Miami will line up in victory formation. And now Rex Ryan is going to be dealing with questions being fired from all angles about where this team stands, where the quarterback position is right now with Sanchez and Tebow, this offense in general, the breakdowns in special teams, and more than anything else, the 3-5 record at the midway point.
A lot of questions. Maybe some curious answers to those questions.
Now for Joe Philbin, a time to smile for the Miami Dolphins. They're going to try to get out of here and beat the weather and get back down to South Florida. Over 500. The Dolphins 4-3. It's a 3-game winning streak for the Miami Dolphins. They dominate the Jets here at MetLife Stadium. 30-9 the final. Matt Moore in relief, replacing Ryan Tannehill. Tannehill leaves with a left leg injury. Moore directs the offense, kept everything under control, and Joe Philbin is over 500 for the first time in his young head coaching career. One of the best rivalries in the AFC through the years. This one was all Miami. 30-9 the final. The Dolphins over the Jets. They split the season series. Jets took the first one back in week 3 in overtime. And this one never in doubt. Miami, the better team from the very start.
They got great work from their defense. Great job by Matt Moore taking over for the injured Tannehill. And how about the special teams? A blocked punt, a blocked field goal, a great kickoff return, and an onside kick perfectly executed. A total team win for the Dolphins.
And maybe now Miami can truly start thinking about the playoffs.
Playoffs?
Yeah.
Really? Better check out the health of their quarterback, Ryan Tannehill, but what a luxury to have Matt Moore.
30-9 the final. Miami over the Jets. For Dan Fouts, I'm Ian Eagle. Let's send it to New York. NJB.